Today's date is March 17th, 2014. Time is approximately 0108. Detective Babcock, Albuquerque Police Department. Detective Fred Beers with the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department. We're going to be conducting an interview with. Can you state your full name and spell your last name, please?
Yeah, it's be Michael Monette, last name Monette. Man number is 5380.
Okay. Okay. Michael, you had occasion to come up here to 812 Pedro Vista Northeast tonight in reference to a call. Can you explain how you got involved and what your involvement was, please?
Yeah, basically, I kind of heard the call come out. I was kind of in the same area as Sam 55 was at. I didn't hear the whole dispatch, but I kind of waited till he kind of pulled up and asked what was going on. I was already dispatched to another call, but due to kind of the sergeant saying, hey, come on and come to this, I told dispatch I'll be going to that call, and they rerouted me over here. Basically, kind of just followed the sergeant up here in our units. When we were showing up, a few other officers were showing up at the same time, at least right off of Copper and Tramway. Came up here, parked. As soon as we parked, Sergeant Carpenter told me, which Sam 55 is Sergeant Carpenter, so he told me, get your rifle out and let's start going up there. So basically, I didn't know a whole lot about it until kind of getting here, that it was, basically a guy out there with knives and confronting some people. I kind of heard the initial dispatch when it came out, when I was still in my unit, kind of off of, Dorado and Central-ish type area, but I didn't really get to make too much sense of it until I actually kind of pulled up and he kind of debriefed me on kind of what was going on. So got my rifle, started heading up. I'm also CIT. I did that in September of I think it's 09 or 010, something like that. I've had it for a while. And just kind of made our way up there to where the open space officers were at, talking with this individual. Basically kind of just got up there, kind of started talking to him, trying to see what was up, trying to see what his main problem was. Asked him questions about, what he'd been doing today, what kind of brought him up here, what he's been doing up there, along with a bunch of other stuff. I did a lot of talking with him. A lot of it was kind of get like a baseline, kind of like where he was at mentally, kind of know what he was thinking or what he was talking about. Also want to make sure he had, that he was, for the most part, comfortable, make sure that he had drank water and had a meal, in a decent amount of time, which he said yes to both of them. He said he had water up there. He even asked us for if we wanted water a bunch of times also. He did kind of bounce back and forth from being kind of cooperative in a sense, but back and forth to non-cooperative. I remember when I first got up there, he had his hands in his pockets. I kind of told him how officers aren't the most comfortable around somebody when they have their hands in our pockets. We haven't been able to kind of give them a pat down or have an understanding of what they might have. He kind of didn't really advise what he had, but he did kind of eventually stop doing that at a point. But it was, for the whole time I was probably talking to him for a couple hours, maybe give or take a little bit here and there, with Sergeant Carpenter getting in and saying a few things here and there. Then once the other state officers showed up too, they also, or at least one of them, tried to help with the dialogue and try different approaches, or basically, since they weren't here the whole time, they were trying kind of like their approach. But basically, it's kind of saying like, I've been asking a lot of the same stuff and doing a lot of the same stuff, and just so they kind of knew that this has already been covered a little bit. At that point, I offered him, come down, let's get you some water, if you want to, I'll give you we'll get you a hotel room for a week, all this stuff, just to try to get him down, calm down, just to put down the knives first. Can't have them in his pockets, put them down, come on down here. We want to do this the right way, we don't want to hurt anybody type stuff. He was uncooperative with that. He said he's not going to put down his knives, not going to drop my knives. I'm not going to go down there without my knives still on me. He's like, I don't have them out right now, but I'm not going to take them off me. basically. Kind of like saying, like, you know, like, I guess, kind of saying that he can't be threatened us that much if we know that he has them on him, type of thing, you know. As much as I would have liked to have been able to do that, but I'm not going to feel comfortable letting him come down while he still has something on him that I know that's on him. And the fact that he won't agree to something like that is something that I didn't feel comfortable with. I didn't want him to come down even if I knew that he had him on, basically, especially from the way that he already kind of brandished them and done that to the other officers that showed up first. So basically I did that, dialoguing back and forth that way for a while. Eventually some of the tactical guys ended showing up, which at that time Sergeant Carpenter kind of started having people exiting or moving back down the hill kind of one by one. I continued to kind of tell them, like, hey man, if you put the knives down, come down here, let us do this way. I can guarantee you that most likely you're going to be pretty safe. You can just put the knives down and come down here, all right? Because that's the main thing. He still wasn't budging with the knives, said he wasn't going to drop them or get them out of his pockets, and wasn't going to leave them up there. Numerous times over and over, he did state also that he wasn't going to follow any of our orders. He wasn't going to do anything that we wanted him to do, and that he was the one that was supposed to be in control, and that he was the one that we had to follow, like, his orders type thing. At the same time, too, he did also speak numerous times about how he does work for the government, saying he's Homeland Security, a bunch of stuff like this, saying that he had stuff on his person or on his property that he was trying to get to, either have us go through us through APD or give to some sort of authority to prove some sort of thing that's going to happen or some sort of situation in that sense, I guess. But never did really explain what that was, other than the fact that he had tried to get it to somebody before and nobody had taken it or taken him seriously, I guess. Well, he didn't say seriously, but that's kind of what I was kind of getting from the way he was kind of talking. And once basically doing that, I was able to kind of ask him that a few more times while we were exchanging people. I'm like, you put these down, we can do this a safe way, and I can guarantee that most likely you're gonna be pretty safe as long as you put those down. Just come down here and not, put down the knives that you had. Still wasn't buying it, still didn't like it. But about that time, about my time was up, being able to talk to him. Tactical guys showed up. Me and Sergeant Carpenter were the last two to kind of tactically retreat from the position that we're at, just so we made sure they didn't, because we didn't know what else he had up there. He had a bunch of other bags and other property up there that, we just don't know what he had in him. He could have guns, could have whatever, but we just wanted to keep an eye on him once we were kind of doing the retreat from him. At that point, they started showing up, started setting up another perimeter, kind of holding of any type of kind of a escape route they had to kind of keep them contained. And they kind of did their thing from there. Once they had contacted them, I wasn't able to hear much of the conversation, but once I did hear the shots, I did hear one of the officers like move on up. He kind of pointed in my direction, or turned in my direction and say move on up, so that's when I started going up. We basically kind of saw some of the handcuffing kind of help with some of the initial pat down. He did have a few other, I know that I at least located one other knife that was on his belt. There was like a flip knife, and I think it was mostly silver. I didn't see anything else other than kind of like the spot that's kind of popping out of the, kind of like his waistband or his waist. There was also a lot of other objects that were inside of his like pants or cargo pants also. During this time, most of the other officers that were up there ended up making their way down. I just stayed up there with Ramon of what was it, 14? I think he is 714, or is it 720? I thought it was 14. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his call sign is.
Yeah, so I was hanging up there with him. Basically, just staying with him until rescue was able to make its way up, or the ambulance was able to make its way up. Ramon Ramon did have me retrieve some shears out of his pouch on his vest in the back. So he began to cut the sweatshirts and stuff off the upper body of the individual that was shot, just so they could start working on him a little quicker, a little bit faster. And in that process too, eventually they did show up, started kind of continuing where he was at with removing his clothing. The handcuffs were starting to, I guess, kind of hinder the treatment. So I removed the first one, the right arm, out. And then once we were able to keep him stable, have him kind of somewhat kind of patched up a little bit by them, we were able to roll him around, get that other hand cut off, and then start kind of taking him down into the ambulance. And I did ride in the ambulance down to UMH also. And on the way there, doing all the treatment stuff that I was just kind of along for the ride on.
All right. Let me ask you a couple questions. During this, did you have your camera on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did criminalistics already take possession of that?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Do you know about what time you were dispatched initially?
I would have to say somewhere around 4, I think.
Okay.
With all the other stuff that was going on, I really didn't have a chance to really look, so it's an approximation somewhere right around there.
Okay. And when you arrived, what was your understanding of what had happened so far?
Just that there was some sort of call up here, disturbance with somebody armed with a knife, basically.
Okay. Do you know who was already here?
Not initially, no, not really. Until basically I got in here and got out of the car and started to kind of approach up. That's where I kind of put some stuff together and thought it was the open space guys that were already out there.
All right. You were talking about this guy saying he had knives?
Yes.
Or you weren't sure, but I
had seen him also. He'd also pull him out when I first got there. He had him out in both hands, one in each hand. I did ask him to, put him down, drop him, put him away. Eventually he did put his hands back in his pockets. And then I was able to actually get him to have him come out without him in his hands, without his hands in his pockets, but that was about as far as I could get with him. But I guess where being armed, I couldn't get him to put him down.
And what would he tell you when you asked him to put the knives, take them out and put them down?
He said, you're not going to give me any orders to do anything. I'm going to do what I want. You're going to have to do what I tell you. I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. And he got really upset whenever we give him any type of order like that. He even said, I think, a few times that like those knives are protecting me just as much as the guns we had were protecting him for some reason. Okay. Something similar to that.
Then when you initially were talking to him, actually, you know what? At this point, Michael, let's go ahead and draw your diagram, and then I kind of have some questions based on that.
Okay. So if that's like the house, the little gate, kind of right here, that you walk through to get up. There's kind of the open area right here.
Go ahead and actually draw it out for us.
I'd say it's like the gate wall to the house. I would say he's more right here in this area. There's like a few rocks that kind of bigger rocks that would kind of shelter him from any view down from the west. He was kind of right here in this spot. We'll say, yeah, right around there for the most part. He had other bags kind of right in this area. There's kind of like a path kind of right here and kind of also that way where there's like another kind of bigger rock right here and then it kind of fell off. I'd say for the most part I was about right there for a good portion of the time.
Go ahead and put
where I'll put like
put me or something.
Yeah. So that's gonna be me. Like Sam 55, he was kind of right here for the most part if he wasn't going back and forth. The open space guys for the most of the time were somewhere over here, along with I think it was right here we had Rogelio, Officer Rogelio, and then Wetterlin right up here also, Rogelio out of Beanbag, and Wetterlin was also armed with a beanbag, both beanbag and shotguns. Handgun, Sarge, handgun. I had a rifle. I think for the most part that was pretty much how everybody we had. There's a few other people that kind of showed up, kind of at some point. I know Niprath eventually showed up. He had a rifle. He ended up coming up a little bit higher up here, further up the mountain, kind of I don't know, more at his, I guess like 3 o'clock, I guess, or not 3, more like I guess like 9, if it's going towards us. And basically at that point, we ended up having the tactical guys that did show up. More of them kind of set up over here. Some more kind of replaced us after we kind of tactically moved down and create more space. And then, because a little further down, there was like another kind of like rock setup a little bit further down here that we were able to kind of like tactically retreat to. I was holding on to him for that rock set down here for a little while until some tactical guys came up. Kind of took that position, and then once other people kind of showed up, they kind of systematically rotated us out so they could go in.
Okay. So under your me right here, put first.
Okay.
Put like a first for me. And then where did you go to next?
Then second was like right here. Tactical guys showed up. Then a little further down, it's kind of bad on distance right here, but so tactical guys showed up. Some more showed up. Ended up coming down to like another rock, kind of further down here, and that was like my third position. And
I'd be right third for me.
And that would be where I was when I heard the shots, and they said, "Come on up or move up," and that's why I moved up. And basically kind of helped keep him under control while they were handcuffing him, and then for a search, and then everything else from there.
Go in right here. Go ahead and put like a north.
So that'd be that way. That'd be north.
And then put west. And that's good. Is that an N or a W?
That's gonna be the W.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's all right.
And that one's
so it's clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like
that works.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you were at your first position here and you're engaging him and talking to him, what's the distance would you say between you and this guy or the individual?
I would say it's kind of hard to judge because he's vertically a little bit higher than me, because he's up on the hill. I would say at least it was 30 feet. That's about 10 yards, so maybe around like 15 yards, something around in there.
Okay.
I'd say that's about right.
Now, did you have a clear view of him, or was he concealed by these rocks?
I had a clear view of him. There wasn't much that was blocking visual from him on that, at least for me.
Okay.
At where I was at right there. If you were down here, bad view. You'd be blocked. The rocks would block him.
Okay. Then, when you heard the volley of gunfire and they told you to move up, what did you observe when you got there?
Basically, got up there. As soon as I got up there, I observed some. There was a little bit of blood. Started seeing some blood from the sound at a distance. Even one of the state guys like, "Oh, were those lethal rounds?" I was pretty sure they probably were. Just kind of being around, hearing a little bit more, but I was pretty sure at least some of them were. As soon as I got up there, I kind of did start to get a little bit of information. I knew that, he was bleeding. I could see some impacts on where it was on his chest when they kind of lifted shirts up to kind of see what exactly was going on. I think that was Ramon. And then basically, I could tell he's not doing all that great. His breathing was kind of going out. We had to keep telling him, keep breathing, try to keep him conscious. And I could tell that we needed to get somebody up there and give him some medical fairly soon. So that's about as clear as it was to me. So,
did you notice any weapons, anything like that?
Yeah.
You said the one in his.
Right, that was the one I saw that was kind of in his waistband. We had that one taken out. There was another knife that I believe was flipped open. That was kind of a little bit further east from him. more this direction. There's another knife that was laying right there that I did saw that was flipped open. And those were basically, I remember this one the most, that one the most, and the one that was in his waistband.
Okay, so you see a total of 3 knives.
Yeah.
2 are open by him, and 1's in his waistband?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think I'm pretty sure I was the one that located the one that was in the waistband.
Okay. You said that you went in the ambulance, and then you were down at UNMH.
Yes.
During that time, did he say anything?
Not really. I mean, on the way down there, they were calling James. They didn't like being called James. So I told him to call him Ba, because that's what he was telling us to call him there. Other than that, and trying to kind of keep him calm, not from moving around too much in the ambulance, and him kind of saying, "Oh, that hurts." That was pretty much all I heard said.
No other...
and that was on the trip down there. While we were there, I didn't hear him say really anything at all.
Okay. When you came to your 3rd position down here by this rock, and you said when you're down here you really can't see much back up.
Right.
So were you able to see what was going on with Tactical and him, actually?
Well, from the spot that they were at, they moved up a little bit more, because they were here when I was there in my 2nd spot, but they actually got a little bit closer before they actually kind of start the final, like, I guess, assault on them or something. But I would say when I was at this spot, there'd be at times where he'd be able to come out of the rocks, and I'd be able to see when he's more like in this area. I'd have a better view of things. But there was a lot towards the end when he was starting to pick up stuff where his stuff was when he went over here. I really couldn't see much other than the top of his head, and that's about it.
Prior to them, did they deploy anything?
I heard the flashbang that was tossed out at him.
Okay. Prior to the flashbang, did you see him throwing anything?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember when they were a little bit further down, he threw something first. I can't remember exactly what it was. After that, he threw like another something that I could tell that he was like, oh shit, like kind of like I probably shouldn't have done that, because even he was like, yo, he said it was a sandwich that he threw down for the dog, and he said that there was another one up here too for the dog if the dog wanted it. And by the kind of the tone and kind of the way he kind of acted like that, he kind of like went it was kind of like an oh shit, I probably shouldn't have done that, because he seemed kind of back on his heels a little bit, and kind of, at least from where I was, seemed a little like resentful for kind of throwing it like that in a way, I guess. But there might have been more than that, but I remember those two. There might have been maybe one other little thing in between there, but I can't recall that one as much. The one that I just told about when he threw that sandwich, that was the one that pops into mind the most clearest. But that one came relatively quickly after the first little whatever something he threw.
Okay. Do me a favor, go ahead and print your name and put today's date down there for me.
Yeah.
And then
I'll say it's 17th now, right?
Yeah, we rolled over to the 17th. Okay, let me have that. Fred, anything on the diagram? Okay. Do you have any questions, Fred? No? Okay. I'll just look at this real quick one more time, Michael. How long do you think you engaged talking to this guy? Total.
It was a while. I mean, it's kind of hard to judge this stuff, because it just, when you start doing some things, it just kind of, sometimes time goes faster, sometimes slower. Just kind of depends on the situation. I think I might have for at least an hour.
Okay. Then, when the state police officer showed up, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you relinquish the negotiations to them at that time?
It was I was still kind of talking with him.
Okay.
Sergeant Carpenter. He was kind of the middleman there for a little while.
Okay.
When I still kept pretty much the same position once they showed up, and they were kind of in that first one,
okay.
And they were kind of lined up right here where I put the SAM 55 at, kind of next to me right there,
okay.
And there'd be times like in their dialogue with them where I kind of look over like, yeah, I've already talked about that. That's about the same thing that I got, type stuff. They did hit a lot of the same things that I had already kind of talked to them about. I know with Sergeant Carpenter, he, for whatever reason, did not like talking to Sergeant Carpenter too much.
Okay.
So he wasn't hanging around that much for that reason. And even when the state guys showed up, they necessarily were kind of on shaky ground almost. Sometimes he liked them, sometimes he didn't. At that point, I really feel like I probably had the best dialogue with anybody that had talked to him yet. But even as much as I could, it was pretty clear that he, at least at that point, by the time I was backing up, he wasn't going to give up anything. He wasn't going to do nothing. He was pretty set on him saying this is by my rules type thing, and
So did you then continue the CIT or engaging verbally with this guy until you were relieved by tactical?
Yeah, I would say by the time I was about right here,
your second spot.
Yeah, the second spot. I was still kind of had a little bit of dialogue with him. A couple of one of the K9 guys showed up that was behind me. I think was it rope guys, I think, that showed up also when they had the taser shotgun. Pretty much right around there. That's kind of when they kind of started taking over kind of the dialogue part, and then I kind of started making my way back a little further once the fourth tactical guy showed up.
Okay. All right. I can't think of anything. Is there anything else you can think of that we haven't asked you, we haven't talked about?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. And again, Fred, anything? No. Okay. All right. The time is now approximately 01:35. We'll conclude this interview.